Hey everybody, I am Max Sinnerberg from Max Talks Movies, and welcome back everyone to Max Talks Box Office here. Of course, if you guys are new, I break down here on the channel this past weekend's box office domestic numbers. We also look at the overall numbers, both domestic and worldwide for the year 2026, and look ahead to what's hitting theaters this upcoming weekend. So welcome back everyone to the channel. Without further ado, let's just get right into some box office coverage, starting with the domestic weekend, which is the 29th domestic weekend of the year so far, July the 17th to the 19th, 2026. And starting at number one is, of course, the new film from Universal, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, opening to a whopping $124.5 million this past weekend domestically. Worldwide, though, the movie grossed $264 million. This is the second biggest opening of the year so far. This is the biggest opening ever for Christopher Nolan outside of his Batman franchise. A lot of records being set, and you can really tell that the most must-watch director for casual audiences seems to be Christopher Nolan, where it's really an amazing achievement that his previous film, Oppenheimer, which yes had a lot of it was helped out that it came out the same weekend as Barbie, but Oppenheimer got to $975 million, which is an amazing achievement for a biopic on a rocket scientist during a war. Like that is an amazing achievement to get to close to $1 billion on a movie like that. And here we are, 3 years later, and again, nothing's coming out at the same time, but Odyssey stands on its own and it does boffo box office. And I think what makes Christopher Nolan special more than any other filmmaker, no matter the genre, no matter the length of the movie, his movies feel like events. They feel like you, not just do you have to see this in a theater, but you need to see it in a premium format. If that's Dolby, if that's IMAX 70 millimeter. Nolan has always been at the forefront of premium formats, all the way back to 2008's The Dark Knight, where that opening scene was shot in complete IMAX. This whole movie is the first movie ever to be shot completely in IMAX. And this budget is $250 million, so it's a whopping budget. So it needs to get to around like 620 to break even. This movie's definitely going to go beyond its break even point, especially with no competition coming out this weekend. But a career really best for Nolan outside of Batman, a career best for Matt Damon. This movie not just will be doing great here, but it will be a force, I believe, in the awards season of 2027. 6 months from now, where we're heads deep into the awards season, I think The Odyssey could be another front runner in a lot of big categories, just like Oppenheimer was a couple years ago. Tremendous achievement. I think, does it help having Matt Damon as the lead? Yes. He's one of the more marketable leads we still have in Hollywood. But I really think this is the power of Christopher Nolan. If anyone else would make an Odyssey movie, obviously this movie would probably not make close to what money this movie is going to make. I think a lot of people are looking for movie stars, meaning who is someone that no matter what project they are in, they will get a good amount of people to the seats. I do think we've lost that in Hollywood, where there's not really any actors anymore, where people will say no matter what it is, no matter what people are saying about the movie, we're going to go see this in a theater. That is really gone from Hollywood. But the one person who can say that no matter what he does, Batman or not, comic book or not, true story or not, can get butts in seats on a movie, it really is Christopher Nolan. And that really speaks a lot. So The Odyssey is at number one. Moana, the 2026 live action version, is at number two in its second weekend. Only dropped 56% in its second weekend. 19 million for Moana domestically. Right now it's up to 178 worldwide. So here's the good news. Not a disastrous drop for Moana, especially with the fact that the Odyssey made well over $100 million this past weekend. Now, at the same time, this movie really isn't doing anything either. It's a good drop. It's a better drop than I was expecting. It's not like a Snow White level drop that we saw last year for Snow White, but Moana has the same budget as the Odyssey, $250 million. So it needs to at least cross that $620 million mark to break even. And 2 weekends in, Moana is up to 178 worldwide. Um, to compare that, in just one weekend, The Odyssey is $90 million more than Moana. So that's an amazing achievement for The Odyssey. Now, some people who are trying to root on Moana are saying, well, this is a good sign that this movie will have legs. I think its best chance to make more money, well, again, is this weekend with no major releases hitting theaters before we get Spider-Man Brand New Day the next weekend, which is also counter programming to Disney. Now, Moana, yes, has the opportunity to be the ultimate family counter programming over the next couple of weeks. Disney is the one studio that loves keeping their movies in theaters. I just don't see how Moana gets close to its break-even point. Happy for it that it didn't drop off a cliff, and I probably won't again this upcoming weekend. We'll truly see if it has legs, if it still pulls in good box office when Spider-Man Brand New Day hits theaters in a week from Friday. Minions and Monsters also trying to be a family counter programming is in its third weekend from Universal and Illumination, only dropping 30% in its third weekend. 14.8 for Minions and Monsters is up to 137 domestic and 357 worldwide. So it's $200 million up on Moana right now. But again, both these movies really probably could have made more money if Toy Story 5 did not exist. We'll get to Toy Story 5 in a second. As I've said repeatedly over the last 2 weeks, Minions and Monsters is going to be a massive disappointment from the last three entries in this franchise, where Despicable Me 3 and Minions 1 made $1 billion, and Minions 2 and Despicable Me 4 got to 950. This movie's not going to come close to that mark, but it's only an $85 million budget, so this movie is not as expensive as most other animated projects. It's going to make its money, especially when it goes to PVOD, and then eventually on Peacock. But yes, this is not a whopping success like the other films in this franchise. Toy Story 5 is, though, it's at number 4 in its fifth weekend. Another $14.8 million for Toy Story 5, 22% drop. It's now up to $430 million domestic and $958 million worldwide. So yes, Toy Story 5 is a mere $42 million away from joining the billion-dollar club, which it will definitely get to when I talk to you guys next weekend. Unbelievable. I think we all knew Toy Story 5 would get to the billion-dollar mark, but again, as I've said on this channel, a lot of family movies have been coming out. Minions and Monsters, Moana. If you want to count like superhero stuff, you have Supergirl in there, as well as like Disclosure Day from like a blockbuster perspective. And people still all flooded to see Toy Story 5 for now over a month. Pixar is doing very well with its sequels. Inside Out 2, billion-dollar movie. Toy Story 5, a billion-dollar movie. But their most recent movies, if you're talking about in theaters, Lightyear, disaster. Onward kind of came out in the beginning of COVID, so you can't really blame them for that. Elemental, awful opening, but still went past its break-even point, had amazing legs at the box office. Hoppers was, I would say, a moderate hit. Didn't really blow up anything, didn't really disappoint. It was kind of just existed this year. Pixar needs to figure out next how to get their original movies to somewhat of a major level. Right now, they're really relying on sequels getting them to the billion-dollar mark. When will the next time Pixar have an original movie get to the billion-dollar mark? We're already hearing reports. Again, there's going to be another Coco. There's going to be another Incredibles. Won't be shocked if we have another Toy Story. So they're going to be heavily relying on these sequels moving forward. And then Evil Dead Burn rests at the top 5 in its second weekend. It dropped 63% in its second weekend. $5 million for Evil Dead Burn, 24 domestic, 51 worldwide. It's a $20 million budget, so it's already around its break-even point. I think Evil Dead Burn, I'm sure they hoped Evil Dead Burn was going to do better than this, but it's actually fascinating now. IP horror franchises have actually not been doing that great this year. It's been the original horror films that have been doing very well at the box office. So again, we'll see. We're getting in already the next Evil Dead movie is already shot and done. It's coming out in 2028. So this franchise is far from over. When we look at the domestic numbers so far here in 2026, Toy Story 5 has just passed the Super Mario Galaxy movie by 1 million this past weekend, so it's the biggest movie of the year here in the United States and Canada. Michael is at 3, Project Hail Mary at 4, Obsession 5, The Devil Wears Prada 2 at 6, Backrooms at 7, Mandalorian Grogu at 8. Hoppers is at 9. When we look at the worldwide number, Super Mario Galaxy is at number 1, just over Michael, another billion-dollar film at number 2. Toy Story 5 is also going to be the third billion-dollar movie of the year. Probably want to talk to you next weekend or the weekend after that. Into number 3. Delaware's Prada 2 at 4. Hail Mary at 5. Obsession and Backrooms are 7 and 8. Hoppers at 9. And then Minions and Monsters leapfrogs Mandalorian Grogu to get into the top 10 overall this year. So let's now focus on what is coming out in theaters this weekend. No major releases are hitting theaters, guys, this weekend as everyone is still reeling from the Odyssey last weekend and getting ready for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So no major studios wanted any part of being the in-between movie of the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day. The biggest movie that's hitting theaters this weekend is Motor City. That's a new action film starring Alan Ritchson, Shailene Woodley, and Ben Foster. I believe it is the AMC Screen Unseen tonight. I'm going tonight, so stay tuned for my out-of-theater reaction today and my full review for Motor City coming out tomorrow. Also, Her Private Hell is hitting theaters in limited release this weekend. That's a new film. Havana Rose Liu, Charles Melton, and Sophie Thatcher. A lot of those people have been in a lot of stuff recently. That movie is also hitting theaters this weekend. So, guys, I have tons of videos hitting the channel. Please subscribe. I'm beginning, I said this last week, but I finally had time to work on my Patreon and put some videos up for you guys this weekend, this week for the Patreon. So please subscribe to Max Talks Movies on Patreon. I'm sure there's a tier for you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, help me get to 500 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.